Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic.
Before Naruto and Team 8 made back to the village, Naruto was walking with his head down most the entire trial back. Shino and Kiba didn't say much because they didn't really know what to say. Hinata kept looking over back and forth at Naruto the entire time. All she could think about was how sad she felt for Naruto. The entire mission was her idea. Naruto had dreamed for so long of finally finding a way to track down Sasuke. They had the mission won, they had the Baikochu right where they wanted it and were only 2 hairs away from finishing the job. And they still failed. Naruto felt like it was all his fault. Naruto. Hinata finally spoke to him. Naruto turned his head to her. Huh, Hinata, he said. You're not still. Hinata tried to find the courage to say something to make him feel better. I'm just. I hope you're not still upset. Quote, what? Naruto was surprised by how worried Hinata seemed. Naruto tried to put a big smile on his face. Oh, don't worry, Hinata. It's not your fault, he said. I'll be okay. Hinata acted surprised, but wasn't convinced at all. Things happen, right? Naruto tried to stay positive. We'll always get more chances after this. I'm sure by tomorrow we'll all just have a good laugh about this. Yeah, Hinata tried to smile back. I sure hope so. But Naruto still sighed as his smile disappeared. He still felt blue because he still felt too guilty. Hinata meanwhile was thinking back to the rest of the mission. About Naruto groping and hugging her in excitement, how close they were when she ran into him at the hospital, him almost seeing her in the river that night, how determined he was to rescue her from the others, her waking up in his arms after defeating all the bugs. They all made her blood race in confusion and excitement. She kept blushing and smiling about him the entire trip. You did what? Sakura heard about the mission. That Naruto accidentally farted in the Baikochu before it could catch Sasuke's scent. Now Sakura was on her rampage chasing Naruto through the village to beat his lights out. I told you, I'm sorry Sakura. Naruto shouted. He was running for his life. Despite his efforts to run, Sakura caught up to him at one point and pounded him hard in the head. Ouch. Please Sakura. Forgive me. It was an accident. Naruto pleaded. I'm never gonna forgive you for this Naruto. Never. Sakura screamed wide-eyed and angry. I said I'm sorry. Naruto cried. As she continued to chase him, Naruto ran faster and faster. He jumped from building to building hoping to lose her, but Sakura stayed right on his trail, determined to kill him. Naruto ran around the corner of one building and created a shadow clone. The clone continued to run, while Naruto focused his chakra to his feet and ran up the side of the building. Down below Sakura chased the clone Naruto. Naruto reached the top of the building, and collapsed. He held his arm to his stomach hoping to regain his composure. He was out of breath. He was breathing hard trying to figure out why Sakura was so mad and why Shai won't listen. But before he knew it, he recognized a shadow looming over him. Sakura was on top of the roof, staring at Naruto with her white eyes, her angry face in her fists. Naruto just looked at her in shock. Gimme a break Sakura, he yelled with a frown. How long are you gonna keep this up? Naruto, I'm gonna destroy you, you bastard. Sakura just yelled. She immediately ran towards him and tried to punch him. Using all his strength, Naruto leapt up to dodge it and run. He jumped off the building as far as could, Sakura jumping right behind him. Sakura stop, Naruto yelled. Why won't you listen to me? You're the one who ruined the mission Naruto. Sakura just screamed. No, I'm not gonna stop. Naruto couldn't believe this. Normally by now, Sakura would have let all her anger out and left Naruto alone, but she was just too angry, too selfish, too hateful and disrespectful to stop. She continued to chase Naruto down an alley. Naruto finally decided this was getting ridiculous. He was on his last leg, out of energy. Sakura, Naruto yelled. If you don't stop chasing me, you're gonna leave me with no choice but to defend myself. Naruto warned her. Sakura just ignored him, determined to beat him to death. Never. Sakura screamed back. Fine. You asked for it, Sakura. Naruto, still running, put his hands together. Shadow clone jutsu. Naruto created one shadow. Running together, the two Narutos began putting their hands together to form the enormous blue spinning ball, the fourth Hokage's jutsu. Sakura looked and gasped out loud. Naruto, with the small Rasengan in his hand, screeched to a halt, thinking Sakura was still running right behind him. He spun around to thrust it out. Rasengan! He yelled. But by the time he did, it was too late. Sakura had already stopped, frozen in shock, eyes wide open and jaw dropped. Her and Naruto were standing a great distance away from each other now. She stared at Naruto in shock and disbelief that Naruto wanted to use that on her. Naruto just glared at her with a frown, breathing heavily, out of breath, still holding the Rasengan out in front of him. Well, what are you waiting for? Naruto said. Aren't gonna attack? Beat me into a bloody pulp, just like you wanted to. Sakura still stared shocked. Naruto, she whispered. Finally the Rasengan dissipated. Well, Naruto shouted, still standing his ground. I didn't mean. Sakura began to cry. I didn't mean it like that, Naruto. Did you really have to go that far? She shouted. You said yourself, Sakura, you wanted to kill me. Naruto yelled. All because of a stupid mistake I made on the mission, and after I said I'm sorry and begged you to forgive me. He cried out loud. If I can't convince you, I'll just have to defend myself then. The wind blew in the area between where Sakura and Naruto were standing. Naruto, I'm sorry. Sakura pleaded with a frown. Things happen, Sakura. Naruto said. Yeah. Sakura said. And they always happen to you, Naruto. Sakura ran away, about to put her face in her hands crying. Naruto just stood there all alone now. Still breathing hard, he finally sat down by the wooden fence to catch his breath. He couldn't believe what he had just done. Being pushed to the edge, to prepare to defend himself in a fight against her. He finally broke into tears. Why Sakura? Naruto was angry that Sakura would go to such extremes. He cared for Sakura but she didn't care for him. But Sakura had reminded Naruto of what he felt earlier, that the Baikochu mission was a failure. And that it was his fault. Why does he always have to screw up? And after they've come so close. That same afternoon, Hinata was at her home with the Hyuga family. So the mission was a failure, huh? Hinata's father asked. Yes, Hinata said. But it's okay. All that means is that we'll try better and train harder next time. She smiled. I sure hope so, Neji said. You all sound like you did extremely well and came so close. Yes, Hinata answered. Thank you. But Hinata looked down. Still, I wonder how bad Naruto is still feeling, Hinata thought to herself. He was so upset, despite how well we did and how close we came. I only wish I could have had more to say to make him feel better. Naruto finally went home that night. He tried everything he could to go to sleep, but he couldn't. He had too many things on his mind. The failed mission with Team 8. All the times he and Hinata had out there. About how disappointed everyone was. He couldn't believe he finally reached the point where he'd have to attack Sakura, his own teammate, the girl he had a crush on for so long, who all he wanted was for her to like him, even though she always threw it in his face and beat him. Who was of now help to Naruto when he got back from the missions. Realizing he couldn't sleep, Naruto finally got out of bed. He went for a walk into the night. Naruto was walking across the village. His hands were in his pockets. He held his head down, feeling blue. It was very late at night, almost midnight. Most of the Leaf villagers had already turned in for the night. Many shops were closed, many were asleep in the houses, and therefore many of the lights were turned off and it was very dark. But he just kept walking. He wandered into a dark street with his head still staring at the ground. Naruto suddenly noticed the ground getting brighter. He looked up and saw the moon in the sky. Naruto began to smile at the bright moonlight, but as quickly as it came, it disappeared behind a cloud. Naruto's smile went away and he kept walking. It was too cloudy that night. Man, Naruto thought. I never thought it could feel this gloomy. And on such a cool, crisp, beautiful night. But he didn't feel as gloomy as he felt alone. He had no one with him. No one to talk to right now. Sasuke was long gone. And Sakura was no help, feeling they were drifting apart. Naruto tried to think of some good things about the mission, getting to hang out with Team 8, with Shino, Kiba and Hinata. Especially Hinata. That moment at the hospital when he was hanging in front of her face, that mysterious woman he saw in the river, how he and Hinata found and caught the Baikochu together, watching her newly perfected 8 trigrams jutsu, catching her in his arms. He remembered how determined he was to find and rescue her from those other freaks that captured her. Hinata, he whispered. Now that's something I'd love to live through again, Naruto thought with a bright smile. But his smile eventually faded again as he kept walking. Naruto's stomach started rumbling then. He realized he was real hungry. That might help, he thought. A late night snack. Naruto remembered that the ramen shop didn't close till midnight, and if he hurried, he could get something, and then maybe visit with the chef if for a couple minutes. He began racing around the corner for the ramen shop. It didn't close until about another 30 minutes. That's plenty of time, Naruto thought with a smile. He was about to reach the next corner when he suddenly screeched and stopped to a halt. He looked out in surprise. Coming around the other side of the fence, there was Hinata. Hinata was walking alone down the same road. She was seemingly humming to herself and just looking at things. She came and turned her head to see Naruto there as well. Seeing him, she gasped out loud and froze. She ran back by the fence and stuck her head out. Naruto stared at her just as wowed as her. Naruto. Hinata whispered in her high-pitched voice. Hinata. Naruto said. They were only standing a few feet from each other. Wow, Hinata. Naruto brought up a smile. I never thought I'd run into you of all people this late. He was scratching his head. Hinata whispered. I mean, what brings you out here? Naruto said. Hinata was still frozen that she had run into Naruto. She spoke. Well, I just wanted to go for a walk. Huh? Naruto asked. Naruto didn't realize the real reason she was walking was because Shita couldn't sleep. Things were on her mind as well. I mean, I love just getting out and going for walks on nights like this. Hinata spoke up. I mean, and coming to see the moon and feel the warm air. Don't you? See the moon, huh? Naruto, still depressed, looked up. Well, it's kinda hard to see up there, you know. Hinata gasped. Oh, I know. How silly of me. How could I be so foolish? Hinata panicked. Hey, that's cool. Naruto stopped her with a smile. It's still a great reason to go for walks at night. I'd do it. Hinata froze again. Really? She said. The two kept looking at each other in silence. They weren't sure what all else to say at that moment. Well, Hinata stuttered. It's getting real late, huh? I guess I should be heading back home. Quote, you sure? Naruto asked. Yeah, Hinata said. I mean, well, I've been out for quite a while and I don't want anyone at getting worried or something, so. I guess. Naruto sighed. Yeah, I guess so. Naruto and Hinata stared at each other for a couple more seconds. Then Hinata started to turn and walk on as Naruto walked away too. She couldn't believe herself, Hinata thought. But then Naruto stopped and turned around. Hinata, wait, Naruto shouted. She gasped and turned around. Naruto began scratching his head, silent for a couple seconds. Listen, Hinata. Naruto began to stutter. I know it's late, but I'm kinda hungry and I was on my way to the ramen shop to get a midnight snack or something. Quote, huh? Hinata whispered. And, well, I was just wondering. I mean, you don't have to if you want to, but, he said looking down. You what? Hinata said. Since you're here, I was wondering if you wanted to come with me. Naruto finally said. I mean, I don't know if you actually care for ramen, but or if it's not too late. But if you want some company, I'll take you there. Naruto smiled. My treat. What do you say? Hinata couldn't believe it. Naruto asking her out. For real? Well, if you don't want to, I can, he said. No. Hinata finally spoke. I mean, yes. No, I don't have to go home yet, I'd love to go, she said with an excited smile. Hinata finally ran up to Naruto in excitement and hugged his arm. Naruto gasped. Hinata realized what she had done. Her face turned beet red. Oh, I'm so sorry, Naruto. I didn't mean. Naruto was surprised. Oh, hee hee ha ha, it's nothing. His face blushed a little. He still couldn't believe he asked her to come. Much less that she accepted his invitation. Quick, we gotta hurry, or else we'll be late. Naruto ran, and pulled Hinata's coat to get her running. That same evening, Sakura was sitting at home in her room. She was still shocked and crying about what had happened earlier. She never thought she'd live to see the day Naruto tried to attack her, and with the Rasengan. And to think, it was all because of Sakura he did. Nah, Ruto, she whispered to herself. She threw herself on her bed face first in tears. How could I have been so stupid? Exclamation mark quote. Sakura yelled at herself. Making him run away from me like that. And for what? Just because I got mad. And over something so stupid. She rolled over. I never meant to hurt him like that, Sakura cried. So why did I? And now Naruto probably thinks I'm nothing but a monster who hates him. Sakura glanced over to her dresser. There stood her copy of the photo they had all taken of Team 7. With Kakashi behind all them and her, Sasuke and Naruto all together with Sakura smiling. We've already lost Sasuke, Sakura said to herself with a tear. I don't want to lose you too, Naruto. I won't admit it, but I've always been happy somehow that you were on my team. I don't want you to be mad at me and make you run away. She finally sat up and rubbed her eyes. Then that's it, Sakura said. Tomorrow, first thing, I gotta wake up and find Naruto so I can apologize and tell him how sorry I am, for everything. Quote. A few minutes later, both Naruto and Hinata were sitting side by side on the bar stools at the ramen shop. Naruto was eating his ramen kinda slowly but still enjoying it, while Hinata just stayed sit. Hardly anyone else was walking around the village. It was just the two of them. The moment getting to be with Naruto made Hinata blush and smile. She sat silent. Hey Hinata. Naruto turned to her. You haven't really eaten much. Oh, Hinata finally came out of her trance. She was too lost in the moment. Sorry. Quote. You okay? Naruto asked. Yes, Naruto. I'm just fine. Hinata said back. I was just, waiting for the noodles to cool down. Not wanting to make herself look silly in front of Naruto again, Hinata began eating a couple more bites. She did enjoy the meal. Naruto looked down at his bowl aside. I guess you're not enjoying this as much I thought. Hinata jumped up. No, that's not. Quote. I didn't know if you really liked ramen or not. I invited just because I like ramen. Naruto said. I guess I screwed up again. What? Hinata gasped. No, Naruto, that's true at all. I love it. I'll eat anything. I was trying to, well, I just like. Hinata wanted to tell Naruto she just loved Naruto's company so much and she was just so happy him being there. That's why she hesitated eating. But she didn't know how to. Naruto realized Hinata's face was turning reddish again. You just like what? Naruto? Hinata looked at him. You didn't screw up anything. That's silly. I really just love being here, that's all. You sure? Naruto asked surprised. Of course. Hinata began to realize Naruto wasn't himself. Why? What's on your mind, Naruto? Naruto just sighed as he put his fork down and clenched his fist. A breeze blew through outside. Hinata looked at him with a sad face. You're still upset about the mission, aren't you? Hinata spoke to him. Naruto lifted his head aghast. You were real upset about it the entire time we walked back here, Hinata said. It's still bothering you that much? It's not just that, Hinata. Naruto whispered. What do you mean? Hinata asked worried. That whole mission was about one thing, Naruto went on, tracking down Sasuke and bringing back to the village. To keep a promise that I made. And to reunite my team, Team 7. Hinata gasped. I failed, And now I'm back where I started, alone and by myself. Huh, Hinata whispered. The worst part about it, Naruto said. My own teammate, Sakura was so upset, she tried to kill me because of it. She refused to try to forgive me and listen to me. I even had to defend myself against her just to cool her down. Hinata couldn't believe it. Naruto is really feeling that much pain. But none of this would have ever happened if I hadn't screwed up. Naruto looked down again. If I'd just been more careful and paid attention, the mission would have been a success. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Hinata was really worried now. We would have found Sasuke and we'd be together again. But now, they're all gone. And I've got no one that can help me out. Quote. Hinata finally cried out, scared for him. Naruto. Hinata cried out, thrusting her hand on his shoulder. Naruto, taken by surprise, suddenly calmed down. It wasn't your fault, Naruto. Remember, Hinata said, things always happen. And no one could have prevented it. And I mean, even if we'd succeeded, there's no guarantee it would have brought Sasuke back. He left the village himself. And there's always gonna be more chances, right? Hinata kept crying out to Naruto. The best of us always make little mistakes, Naruto. It's nothing to beat yourself down over. Nothing. Her hand was still on his shoulder the entire speech. Hinata shed a few tears for him. So please. Naruto. I just want you to. Naruto looked and stared at Hinata, completely stunned by her. Hinata. He thought. You're really worried. You're really crying and worried, about me. At that moment, things suddenly began to make sense to Naruto. All the times he thought Hinata was following him, all the times Hinata blushed around him, why she suggested the mission, all because Hinata was that worried for him. All because that's how much she's cared about him. Naruto's heart began racing. Wow, Hinata, Naruto spoke up. It's okay now. He put his hand on her arm and lifted it back down to the bar. Hinata gasped. You don't have to worry about me and that anymore. I'm gonna be just fine. Naruto finally smiled. Hinata looked at him and wiped her face. Her heart was racing to now. Really? She whispered. Thanks, Hinata. Naruto said, about to shed a tear himself. Hinata smiled. Naruto, in a great sigh of relief, she leaned to hug his arm again and lay her head on it. However, she suddenly realized it again and pulled away scared. Hinata, it's okay. Naruto smiled and whispered. But then the chef finally came out and grabbed the ramen bowls. Sorry to interrupt you too, but I'm afraid it's midnight, he said. And that means closing time. Time for you to pay up and time for me to go home and sleep away. Quote. Oh. Naruto and Hinata lost all track of time. I guess so. Naruto gave him the money. Before they knew it, Naruto and Hinata were alone again. The ramen shop closed. The lights in the street all out. Everyone gone home or in bed. The two stood side by side to each other. They both felt very comfortable and happy with each other's presence. You know, Hinata, Naruto said. Are you really ready to go home yet? Night's still young. Gasp. Really? Hinata said, smiling. Yeah, I'm not that tired just yet. Naruto said, smiling at her. It's still a beautiful night. Wanna keep going for a walk? I'd love to. Naruto. Hinata said to him. Sweet. Naruto said. Soon he and Hinata were on their way again, walking back down the random streets together, just for fun. Although both of them did feel a little tired, neither would admit it. They were just enjoying the moment, the lovely night together while it still lasted. Naruto and Hinata visited and had several conversations with each other. Talking about lots of things. Their favorite things, their family and friends, the Chunin exams, their trainings, having lots of laughs and staying lost in conversation. They walked through the village and decided to walk up to the top of the mountain, the great cliffside with the Hokage faces that overlooked the village. Soon they were sitting down on top of the cliff, looking at the city view. You know, I just never get tired of coming up here. Naruto smiled. It's even cooler to look at during the nighttime. Quote. Hinata loved it as well. It really is, she said. Her smile went away. Too bad you can't hardly see anything though. It's so dark out there. Well, you can still see a couple of the street lights. Naruto said. Yeah, but they're not really that bright, Hinata said. That's why I like being able to see it when the moon is out. She looked up and sighed. But like you said, the moon is behind all those clouds. The breeze kept blowing all around them though. There were lots of big clouds, but there were still holes you could see through to see the stars. Naruto and Hinata finally got up. They both sighed and looked at one another. Nah, Naruto. Hinata spoke up. Naruto stayed looking to her. You know, I want you to. Hinata was smiling, her heart pounding, trying not to blush. I just wanted you know I'm having a lot of fun, I mean I've had a lot of fun tonight with you. Just by you being, she froze up. Huh, Naruto whispered. Really Hinata? Yeah, I mean how often do nights like this come along? Hinata proclaimed. But I guess. Her mind kept telling her it was getting real late and they should go home. But their hearts kept racing and warming up. You're ready to head back home again. Naruto spoke. Hinata froze. Well, I guess. It is late and there's not much else to do. It's not like I'm gonna get to see the moon over the village. Naruto sighed and looked down. Yeah, I guess so. But Hinata kept looking at Naruto. She just couldn't leave him now. She walked up to him again to put her hand on his shoulder. But it's okay, right? Naruto looked down at her, into her eyes. He smiled brightly, his heart pounding harder. Yeah, he said. Of course. He put his hand on her shoulder as well to calm her down. And you know, Naruto spoke. I wanted you to know I had just as much fun tonight too, with you Hinata, Hinata gasped. Thank you for everything. And thanks for being with me. You, Hinata smiled brightly to him. Always. The breeze blew some more again. Naruto and Hinata begin to notice a brightness itching the corner of their eyes. Together they suddenly turned to see the wind had blown the big clouds away. The moon had finally come out. Whoa, Naruto whispered. Still with their hands on one another's shoulder, they glared at the village, now with the moonlight shining over it. The moon shining over them. Well, what do you know? It finally did come back out. Naruto whispered. Yeah. Hinata turned to him. It really did. Naruto turned his face back to her. The two were standing alone, Naruto and Hinata. On top of the cliff, the cool breeze all around them, their faces in moonlight. They stared into each other's eyes for a good while, still resting their hands on each other's shoulder. Their hearts racing, their minds at peace. Without knowing or thinking it, their bodies begin to lean forward, lean together, their faces and the lips leaning closer. Closer to each other. Without even thinking, Naruto and Hinata's bodies leaned toward each other. Their eyes drifted shut, their hands still on another's shoulder. Their lips suddenly touched. Lost in the moment, Naruto and Hinata just kissed. Their minds just drifted away, their lips pressed closer and softer, their free hands put themselves around the other's shoulders so that both their arms were hugging on another. It lasted almost 12 seconds. Not knowing or thinking of anything else, not caring of right or wrong. They hugged and squeezed closer and tighter. Their lips pressed closer, further, warmer. Eventually they let go. Pulling away, Naruto and Hinata came back to reality. Their eyes slightly open, their hearts racing, both with lovely smiles looking at each other. Hinata. Naruto just whispered. Naruto, she whispered back. Her eyes closed, her face red, her mind blacked out and she suddenly began falling backwards. Wah! Hinata! Naruto yelled. Coming out of his trance, he quickly ran after Hinata and caught her in his arms, just inches away from her crashing into the ground. Are you okay? Say something. Naruto panicked. But Hinata didn't respond. But then Naruto suddenly flashed back. At the hospital, Hinata fainting after running into Naruto upside down, their faces so close to each other. Naruto smiled brightly and laughed to himself. Of course, he whispered. It was by far not the first time he watched Hinata faint. And to finally realize, all those times she did was all because she was that much in love with Naruto, and he didn't even suspect it back then. It made that much funnier to Naruto. He grasped Hinata's unconscious body and kissed her forehead. Just moments later, Hinata's eyes finally opened back up. She woke and found herself laying on her back, propped against the side of a tree. Through her blurry eyes she could see they were still on the cliff, overlooking the moonlight and the village, a few feet from the edge. As she started coming back, she began feeling an arm that had been holding her head resting on a warm shoulder. "So you're finally awake, huh?" she heard Naruto whisper. Hinata woke up at last. Breathing and gasping out loud, she looked to see herself leaned up against Naruto, laying down under a tree on the cliff. Her head leapt up in shock and looked to him. "Nah, Naruto," Hinata frantically said. "Wah, what happened? You fainted," Naruto said. "You had me worried there for a moment, Hinata." And that's when Hinata finally remembered. Just seconds ago they kissed. Her and Naruto had finally hugged and held each other close and kissed in the moonlight, all just seconds ago. She whispered frantically. "Hinata, relax," Naruto whispered. He began brushing his hand through her hair and scratching her head. "It's okay." Hinata finally realized she was really with Naruto, in his arm under a tree in the moonlight. This wasn't a dream. It was real. She remembered everything. Hinata immediately leapt and rolled over in excitement on top of him. "Oh Naruto," she said. Smiling brightly, she wrapped her arms all around Naruto and squeezed him tight, pressing her face on his shoulder. "I can't believe you and I can't believe we're here." Quote. Naruto giggled, and wrapped both his arms back around her. "I know," he said. "I can't either. I love you too." Hinata suddenly lifted her head back up. Looking at Naruto, her cheeks slightly red, she reached out and kissed him. It caught Naruto off guard, but Hinata in a burst of love and excitement pressed her face and her lips into Naruto's. Her tongue slipped inside to massage his. Naruto's eyes shot wide open as she kissed him and squeezed him tighter, but sure enough, he gave in too. Pulling Hinata to him, his eyes closed slowly as they made out. Slowly and softly their lips pressed and their tongues wrapped around one another. They tried to relax as they made out. Both were still rather tired because of the late night. They couldn't even wonder if it was right or wrong, if they had rushed into it too quickly or not. All they cared out was that they were here, together, in love, kissing and making out for the real first time. They held each other kissing non-stop for almost 5 minutes. Finally worn out, they breathed heavily and out loud, propping their heads back on the other's shoulder. "I love you too, Naruto," Hinata said. She had waited her whole life to tell Naruto that, and there they were. Naruto lifted her head and they looked at each other. "All this time," Hinata said, "I thought I was just dreaming, that when I woke up, I was gonna find out that kiss we had earlier was just a dream. And when I woke up in your arm, I thought that was a dream at first too, can you believe I?" Naruto giggled to her. "I know," he said. "I would have thought the same thing too, Hinata." Quote. Hinata giggled as well. "We don't have to worry though anymore," Naruto told her. "Now we can just relax, and savor the moment, because it's for real." Quote. Hinata laid her head back down. "I know. We really can, oh Naruto." They were still hugging and holding each other. Naruto began to realize again how late it was. He didn't have a watch, but it was around 1:15 already. "We'll defiantly have to come here again, Hinata," Naruto said. "You wanna come back tomorrow, say right at 11 in the morning?" Quote. "Of course. I'll defiantly be here," Hinata whispered, resting her head more. "I don't wanna think about it right now. I wanna enjoy this night." "Me too," Naruto said, smiling. He began looking up into the moon again. The air was still warm and lovely. The breeze had finally calmed down. The clouds stayed in the sky, but now reflecting the moonlight onto earth. Naruto was scratching Hinata's head, brushing through her hair again. He suddenly realized Hinata was asleep, sleeping in his arms. Naruto was stunned and couldn't believe it. Hinata was so comfortable, so relaxed, so in love, she had actually drifted off to sleep with Naruto holding him, and still holding Naruto herself. Naruto giggled to himself again. He too became drowsy. It had been an awfully long day for him, coming back from the mission, dealing with Sakura, working out his feelings of depression and eating ramen and walking with Hinata. Naruto, without knowing it, drifted off to sleep himself with Hinata. The night eventually drifted on. An hour or so after they fell asleep under the tree, Hinata finally woke up. Naruto woke briefly just in time to see Hinata looming over him and have Hinata tell him she had to leave for real. Naruto didn't have the energy to get up, but he knew what had to be done. The last thing she told him was she loves him and they'll see each other in the morning, back at this same spot on the cliff, like they had planned. Hinata left and Naruto laid down some more, letting Hinata get home before her family would notice something. Naruto eventually got up himself and had a long walk back to his home. But he walked and hummed out loud, smiling brightly the entire way back. He was too tired and in love though. The minute he made it home, he literally crashed into his bed and drifted back to sleep seconds later. Both Naruto and Hinata slept a long time that night, thinking and dreaming about each other. However, Naruto was sleeping too long. The sun began to shine through his window and into his eyes. He mumbled. His eyes opened a little bit as he began rolling around. Man, what a night, he whispered to himself, smiling brightly. Through his blurry, sleepy eyes, he drifted towards the clock and began to look closer at it. 10:50 a.m. 10, FIF, Tai, A.M., he mumbled, then closed eyes. But then they shot right back open. What? Naruto suddenly shouted and woke wide awake. After looking at the clock, Naruto immediately jumped out of the bed, suddenly wide awake. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Naruto panicked, as he frantically began looking around for his shoes and headband. Naruto had promised Hinata last night they would meet again at the top of the Hokage Faces Mountain at 11 in the morning, which was 10 minutes from now. Naruto freaked out waking up, fearing he couldn't get up there in time. Especially after the lovely romantic night they had together after finally confessing and letting out their love for each other. Naruto defiantly didn't wanna miss out seeing Hinata now. Naruto dashed hoping out the door, trying to run and get his shoes on at the same time. Oh man, I'm not gonna make it, he said. How could I have been so stupid? Naruto was running as fast as he possibly could through the Leaf Village, finally putting his headband on while running to look casual. Breathing hard and heavily, Naruto ran, turning corners very sharp, trying to dodge the other people and not run into them. He came around a wooden fence and found Kakashi-sensei, walking and reading one of his books. He quickly looked up in shock to see Naruto running towards. What the? Kakashi said. Naruto saw him and freaked too. Unable to dodge Kakashi, Naruto thought quickly and baseball slid underneath Kakashi to avoid crashing into him. Just as quick, he was back up and running. Sorry Kakashi-sensei. Naruto turned and yelled back. He kept running. Kakashi just stared, dumbfounded and baffled at Naruto running. Well, that was odd. Kakashi said to himself, then turned back. Meh, what else is new? Meanwhile, still running frantically through the city, Naruto looked up at clock on one of the buildings. 10:53 a.m. Oh crap, he thought out loud. I'm not gonna make it in time. It takes me at least another 10 minutes to get from where I am now to up that mountain. His breathing grew heavier and heavier. Naruto tried to pace himself, but he was too worried about what would happen if Hinata showed up, waiting for Naruto and he didn't come in time. Eventually he turned down another street running. Out of the corner of his eye, Naruto could see Sakura sitting at some table eating food at a cafe. He didn't have time to notice or think of it and just kept staring down the road. Upon hearing him running though, Sakura suddenly turned around and saw Naruto. At last, she thought. Sakura quickly got up and turned to him. Hey, Naruto. Sakura yelled and waved with a smile. Naruto, I need to. Hi Sakura. Sorry. No time. Naruto quickly yelled, running right past her. Wh. What? Sakura said in confusion. Sakura looked at Naruto, baffled and puzzled as he ran. Naruto, wait. Sakura yelled and started running after him. Naruto, slow down, she yelled. I can't Sakura, I don't have time. Naruto yelled, looking back to her while running. What do you mean you don't have time? She yelled back. I need to talk to you. Okay then, talk to me. He said, still running. We can run and talk at the same time, Sakura. What? Sakura was getting irritated. No, we can't. This is too important. Sakura finally ran ahead of Naruto and jumped in his way, holding her arms out. Realizing it, Naruto suddenly screeched to a halt, leaving skid marks in the ground. He was breathing and panting hard. What, Sakura? Naruto yelled, having finally stopped. Naruto, I don't know what your hurry is, Sakura told him, worried. But I just needed to tell you right now that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what happened. Okay, thanks, I forgive you. Gotta go. Naruto tried to yell quickly and run again. But Sakura ran in his way again. Naruto, wait, she told him. Why can't you just stay and listen to me for 2 seconds? He realized she had a rather sad expression on her face. Sakura, I'd love to stay here and talk this over, but I don't have that kind of time right now. Naruto tried to say. I really don't. What do you mean? Sakura said. I'm trying to apologize to you. What are you in such a rush for anyway? I told you, Sakura, I forgive you, Naruto said. I know what happened between us yesterday was rough, but it's over, and now I got meet Hinata at the Hokage mountain in 5 minutes. Quote. Well then can't. Wait, what? Sakura's face suddenly stood still. Hinata. Yeah, Naruto said. I promised her I'd meet her on top the mountain at 11 o'clock in the morning so we could hang out. I don't wanna be late. You're going to meet Hinata? Sakura said, still completely shocked. Yes, Naruto said. Now I gotta go. He quickly went past Sakura, running again. Don't worry, I forgive you, Sakura. We can talk more later. Naruto yelled back one last time. He finally left out of sight. But Sakura just stood there, looking at the ground, jaw dropped, eyes wide open and clutching her dress in disbelief. Naruto just ran on, too worried about being late to wanna think about Sakura. He didn't wanna blow her off like that, but he thought he had nothing to lose. As far as Naruto was concerned, Sakura didn't care much about his relationships with other comrades, much less about if he would ever date one of them. While running, Naruto noticed another clock. 10:58 a.m. Oh crap, Naruto yelled. I'll never make it now. Darn, that conversation with Sakura took up too much time. Still running, Naruto began putting his fingers together. I only have one chance now if I'm gonna make up there in time. Alright, come on, you stupid fox. Quote. With that, Naruto's body began turning orange and red. The red chakra of the nine-tailed fox had been released, granting its speed to Naruto. Don't worry, Hinata, Naruto yelled with a smile. Here I come. Now, Naruto was zooming through the village faster, flying past everyone like a NASCAR. In a matter of seconds, Naruto finally made all the way through the village, then jumped up the mountain wall, focusing the chakra to his feet to run up the mountain with ease. Finally, Naruto came shooting up the mountain top in the air and landed on the cliff. The red chakra disappeared. It was 11 o'clock, probably just a minute past maybe. Naruto fell to his knees in order to catch all his breath. That's when he began looking around the cliff top, looking around the trees, or the nearby edges, to see if Hinata was here. Hinata, Naruto called out. No one answered. He got back up and began walking around the trees to look for her. Hinata, he called again. I made it finally, he yelled. Still no one answered. As Naruto kept walking though, his body began to wobble back and forth. His vision got real blurry. Naruto finally realized what a mistake he made. He pushed himself too hard just to show up here on time. He must have ran too fast, he thought. He didn't get as much sleep as his body wanted, and it was still tired from getting up early. Finally, Naruto collapsed on his back to the ground. Man, what was I thinking? Naruto mumbled to himself. He was real tired and dizzy. He looked up at the trees and almost saw double and saw them spinning. Great, Naruto talked to himself. I went through all that, just so I could get to see Hinata one more time. And now she's not even here. She probably showed up somewhere waiting for me, then left cause I didn't get here in time. Quote. Naruto's mind drifted away though. Feeling very drowsy, He began having daydreams and flashback about Hinata. He dreamed of last night, the amazing time they had together. That first romantic kiss in the moonlight. How they slept together under the tree, kissing and making out and squeezing each other oh so tightly. He pictured Hinata in a dream standing over a giant waterfall with the cool wind blowing through her hair and her clothes. Then turning around to see Naruto and smile lovely at him, waiting for him to come to her. Eventually, Naruto starting hearing voices calling out to him. Or rather, a voice. Naruto, daughter, you alright, Naruto? Naruto suddenly woke back up and found Hinata looming over him. Naruto? Hinata asked worried. What happened? Naruto looked up at her surprised, and smiled, relieved she was finally here. Nothing, Hinata. I guess I got tired and dozed off. Feeling greatly relieved he was fine, and just as happened to see him too, Hinata smiled and laid down on top him. Oh Naruto, I'm so happy to see you again. Hinata cried. She quickly pulled Naruto to her and started kissing him. Taken by surprise once again, Naruto quickly gave in to her and kissed back, as they wrapped their arms and legs around each other and began hugging and making out like they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Later on, Hinata and Naruto were cuddled up, sitting side by side holding each another sitting under Anto her tree in the middle of the woods. So you slept into Hinata? Naruto asked. Yes, Hinata smiled. I mean we were up so late last night, once I got home I was so tired, and just thinking all about, I collapsed in the bed the moment I walked in. Quote. Naruto blushed and smiled to her. Really? I guess then we weren't alone. I did the exact same thing. Naruto giggled. I was so worried about getting here, Hinata spoke. I mean I knew I would be a couple minutes late, but I didn't want you getting worried or feeling rushed. That's why I almost freaked out when I saw you collapsed on the ground. Quote. Naruto sighed. Yeah, I guess I overreacted. I didn't realize we'd both be sleeping in so late. But Hinata just giggled. It's okay now though, Naruto. She turned to him. I wouldn't miss this for the world, just being here with you. Ah, come, you. Naruto laughed and pulled Hinata into him. Hinata was taken by surprise when Naruto started scratching her head and tickling her back. Naruto wrapped his legs around Hinata's as so not to escape. Not knowing how to react, Hinata just giggled and laughed while Naruto played with her. Eventually Hinata began tickling Naruto back around his sides. Laughing out loud, Naruto and Hinata rolled all over the ground playing with and tickling each other. Finally they wore themselves out. Naruto was now laying on top of Hinata, this time in the fresh green grass when their eyes meet again. Taken over by the moment they kissed each other again for a good few minutes. Back at the village, Sakura was seen walking slowly through the city streets. Her hands were in her pocket. Her head stayed down. Ever since running into Naruto, her mind had been warped. I don't believe it, she whispered to herself. Naruto was in such a hurry this morning, for Hinata. Sakura knew right away something was defiantly up with Naruto. She'd never seen anyone in such a hurry for anything, not since that time Sasuke ran into her looking for Itachi long ago. She realized if he was in such a hurry to see Hinata for something that wasn't critical or life-threatening, then it must be something else. Why Naruto? Sakura kept talking to herself. Why would Hinata be so much more important to you than listening to me? You know how sorry I am and how much that means to you, right? Quote. Just then Sakura noticed a random couple walk past her, a husband and a wife doing some shopping and holding hands. That's when it finally dawned on her. She had always sort of noticed how much attention Hinata would pay to Naruto at the Ninja Academy, seeing how she was the only girl who did back then. Sakura had always heard about Hinata possibly following Naruto around a lot, and Naruto didn't mind. She remembered how determined Naruto was to avenge Hinata's lose to Neji in the Chunin exam fight. And Naruto and Hinata finally had some missions together, it must have finally happened. Naruto and Hinata finally came out and fell in love. Wow! Sakura said to herself. I don't believe it. She turned and looked up at the Hokage mountain where the two said they were. I guess Naruto finally found a girl to make him happy. And get him off my back. Sakura said and tried to smile. But despite it, Sakura turned and walked down an alley. She kept trying to smile for Naruto. Smile that she was happy he was in love. Sakura's smile quickly vanished into thin air. She collapsed to her knees and clutched her forehead. Her eyes wide open got real itchy. What's happening to me? Sakura shook and got real twitchy. Back on the mountain though, Hinata and Naruto were spending the entire afternoon hanging out with each other. They trained with each other, they practiced tree climbing together, racing each other up to the top of trees just for fun, practicing throwing weapons at targets. You see, check this out. Naruto was telling Hinata. Naruto, along with one of his shadow clones, stood in front of Hinata in the middle of a field. The two began putting their hands together and moving them around fast to form the Rasengan. Once Naruto had it, he held the spinning bright blue ball up to show Hinata. We call it the Rasengan, Naruto said. Hinata looked at it with a smile. That's amazing. It's beautiful too. Thanks, Naruto smiled. But remember, it may look cool and beautiful to the eyes, but it's still a dangerous and extremely powerful weapon, not to be taken lightly. Quote, I know, Hinata said. But that still doesn't mean you can't appreciate how cool it looks. They were showing each other their new techniques they'd learn. Although Hinata had already seen Naruto's Rasengan before during the mission, she loved just getting taught see it, as did Naruto loved watching her 8 trigrams. Mainly they just wanted to spend time together, doing anything they could. They played games and had laughs by hanging upside down from branches. They laid down in the grass looking up at the clouds to see things. And whenever they got tired and wanted a break, they'd just pick a spot to lie down and cuddle. Naruto helped Hinata overcome a lot of her shyness around him. She wasn't afraid at all to express how much she loved him, verbally and physically. Eventually they decided to leave the forest on top the mountain and head back to the village. They weren't ready just yet to let anyone know they had fallen in love and were together, so they walked separately through the village, acting as normal and friendly as they always do. They met back up one more time that day, just to watch the sunset together, sitting on top of a building. You know Hinata, Naruto said with the sun in his eyes. I'd say this is the beginning of a great relationship. Hinata blushed and smiled. I know Naruto, she whispered. You think we'll be okay? Naruto said. What do you mean? I mean, Hinata said. You don't think anyone will disapprove of our relationship, you know, like my father, or my cousin Neji, or any of our teammates. Naruto just looked at her. Me. I'm not really worried. I doubt anyone will even notice or care for that matter. And if they do, they'll just be happy for us. Hinata's smile came back. You really think so? Of course Hinata. Naruto just wrapped his arm around Hinata again. And like you said, we shouldn't worry about that. I just wanna enjoy this time right now. Together. Yeah, me too. Hinata whispered. She finally relaxed and leaned over on Naruto again. They were both just so in love to think about anything else, glaring into the bright warm sunset. The sun finally set all the way, leaving behind an enormous orange then pink reddish glow. Down below, a dark shadow had been looking up at Naruto and Hinata. It turned and slowly disappeared. The next day was a bright and warm sunny day. Naruto had been training by himself out in the woods again. He had a full head of steam. Hee ha ha ha, woohoo. Naruto ran up and jumped laughing with joy. Naruto had a lot of energy in him, was just running up and down all the trees in the woods, laughing out loud with joy and jumping back and forth from tree to tree like a pinball. Swinging and spinning off several branches like a circus acrobat. He was as happy as man like him could be. Naruto. He heard a voice call to him. In the trees, Naruto looked down and saw Kakashi-sensei at the ground looking up at him. Naruto soon came sliding down the tree to him. Hey Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said with a bright smile and breathing heavily. Kakashi just looked at him strangely. Well, you seem to be enjoying yourself and burning off senseless energy for no reason whatsoever. Naruto giggled a little. Hey, it's like you always tell us, Naruto told him. Just try to appreciate the little wonders and joys of life. Kakashi just stared at Naruto for a couple seconds. Then behind his mask he randomly smiled. Well then I'm glad to hear that Naruto. Kakashi said. Unfortunately, I hate to have to cut your little ordeal short. Naruto mumbled. But I came here because you're being sent out on a mission. Kakashi said. Wah, really? Naruto asked. Yes, Kakashi said. Meet us at the village gates in 10 minutes. You, Sakura, Hinata and Rock Lee are being sent away on a new mission. I'll explain to y'all when you get there. Wah, me, Sakura and Hinata? Naruto asked surprised. Yes. Sounds like you'll all have a lot of fun with each other, Kakashi just said. We'll see you there. With that Kakashi took off, leaving Naruto alone in the woods to drink it in. He seemed rather surprised and shocked at first they were all four going together. But eventually, Naruto just smiled again and adjusted his headband. Alright then, I'm all up for it. Naruto yelled smiling. He took off. At the Leaf Village gates, Sakura was standing by herself, still trying to keep her head up, waiting for the others to show up for the mission she'd been informed about. Sakura still had a confused expression on her face. She barely got enough sleep last night. The night before, she had stayed up all night thinking and planning about how she was gonna apologize to Naruto for trying to beat him senseless and tell him she really truly cared for him. But thanks to Naruto's date with Hinata, she never got the chance to. Sakura had no idea why, but the whole thing had been eating up at her all day yesterday. Suddenly she looked and finally saw Naruto walking around the corner. She lifted her head in excitement to him. Naruto, Sakura called out. Hey Sakura. Naruto responded with a normal smile. I made it. Sakura was about to start talking to him, until she noticed Hinata and Rock Lee walking not far behind him. She quickly bit her tongue and sighed in disappointment that they couldn't be alone. Looks like we all made it. Rock Lee said smiling and holding his thumb up. We sure did. Hinata said. She walked up to Naruto and they hugged each other. Sakura looked at them in surprise. Eventually Kakashi-sensei showed up to give the four their assignment. Their mission was to go out and retrieve 2 boxes of valuable goods that had been lost in shipping on its way to a city, and was also being sought after by other bandits. Given a map, they had to go retrieve the boxes and return them safely to the city. This however meant that along the way the 4 ninja would have to split into 2 pairs, one to go after the other box. During the mission once they got to the point where they'd have to separate, Sakura tried to get her and Naruto to team up together, but Naruto wasn't sure. Hinata and Naruto wanted to team with each other to spend more lovely time together, and Rock Lee wanted Sakura to come with him since he still had a crush on her, but Sakura said she'd rather not. However, after some long and rough decisions, the 4 finally decided to have Naruto and Rock Lee go after one package and Sakura and Hinata team up to go after the other. After all, it'd give Naruto and Lee some man time, and Sakura and Hinata some girl time with each other. After all, Sakura was just dying to know what her and Naruto had been doing. The 2 teams had split and set out. Naruto and Rock Lee were jumping through the woods together. So you and Hinata have been together for a couple days now? Rock Lee asked. Naruto had finally told him the truth that he and Hinata were in love and going out. Yes, Naruto replied. And they've just been absolutely amazing. Hinata had always been in love with me since she knew me. And who knew I'd end up feeling the same way for her? That's an amazing thing to hear, Naruto. Lee told him. But what about Sakura? Huh? What do you mean? Naruto looked at him. They were still leaping through the forest. Well, correct me if I am wrong, Naruto, Rock Lee spoke up. But ever since I've known you, you've always told me you had the biggest crush on Sakura. Not that there's anything wrong with that, Lee smiled thinking of Sakura himself. But are you now saying you don't feel anything for her anymore? What? Naruto yelled. That's crazy. I mean, I do care about her still cause she's my teammate. We're still friends. It's just that I finally realized she's never felt the same way about me and wasn't my type. And besides, she's always been and always will be in love with Sasuke. It's not a big deal. Naruto explained. I sure hope you're right. Lee said. They continued on their mission. Out in the other neck of the forest, Hinata and Sakura were leaping through the trees together towards their target. Well, it's really kinda funny, Hinata was saying. We were both going for walks late at night and just happened to walk into each other. Ever since splitting from the guys, Sakura was just begging for Hinata to tell her what her and Naruto were doing. She had convinced Hinata to confess and tell her the story of that night they finally fell in love. And then after that, Hinata had kept continuing. We were both so tired, we actually fell asleep together, still cuddled and hugging each other under the tree for a good while. Sakura looked dumbfounded. She had been gritting her teeth the whole time Hinata was telling her the stories. She tried not to show it. Wow, Sakura said. No wonder. Huh, no wonder. What? Hinata asked. No wonder Naruto was in such a hurry yesterday. Sakura told her. I never got a chance to talk to him like I wanted to, because of that. Quote. Oh, Hinata whispered. I had no idea. Sounds to me like y'all had just as equally a fun and a romantic day yesterday too, huh? Sakura said with a frown and her head down. I guess I'm glad to hear it. She tried to smile. But Hinata looked at Sakura with a worried expression. Why, what's wrong? Hinata finally asked. Is everything okay, Sakura? What's on your mind? Sakura's eyebrows were down and confused. Oh, nothing, she said. It's just that the whole thing really surprised me and caught me off guard when I finally found out. Naruto and I have known each other for a really long time. I didn't expect him to find someone he loved so soon. Hinata curiously looked at Sakura, as they still leapt through the forest. Sakura suddenly glared Hinata in the eyes. I mean, you do know Naruto and I have been friends for a long time, right? Huh, of course I have. What are you saying? Hinata asked. But Sakura seemed to shake her head a little bit. The whole time she had been thinking so much about how Naruto used to have big crush on her. And every time Naruto did something silly or if he tried to offer her a hug, she ended up hitting him and throwing it in his face. Gosh, I just don't know anymore. Sakura said, wanting to rub her eyes. I guess I'm really glad and happy for you, Hinata, to know you're with Naruto. He really is such a great guy. Quote. Hinata smiled thinking about him. Yes, he really is. Sakura glared to her while Hinata kept talking. After all, he just loves and seems to care for everybody. That's what he was telling me earlier when he told me how determined he was to bring Sasuke back home, just so he could bring him back home to you, Sakura. Quote. This made Sakura gasp. So that's what it is, Sakura thought to herself. Poor Naruto still believed she felt the same way about Sasuke as. Why? Yes. Sakura said. He really does care, for all of us. Hinata finally looked at Sakura again curiously. Hey, Sakura, you're not trying to tell me that you? Hinata tried to ask. No. Sakura answered with her head down. I'm okay. Inside Sakura's head, she could feel inner Sakura screaming. Ah. How dare you try to take my Naruto from me, you little peasant. Single quote. All Sakura could do was shake her head in utter confusion, in utter stress and anger that Naruto and Hinata not only hooked up so suddenly to her, but that they both believed in something that wasn't necessarily true. Eventually, the four ninja completed their mission and found and delivered the packages safely, while mainly getting to spend some quality time together. Naruto and Sakura confronted each other after arriving back at the village. They had a short conversation since Sakura was feeling blue, so Naruto tried to cheer her up. But by the time they were done and Naruto and Hinata left, Sakura only felt worse. She had finally realized her true feelings for him. She had finally fallen in love with Naruto. But it was too late to confess it to him. And to Sakura, it was all because of Hinata Higuwa. Because Hinata stole Naruto from her. The next day was another bright and sunny one. Naruto and Hinata happily met in the forest again so they could both train with each and have a romantic day together. All right, Hinata, Naruto yelled out from unseen. You sure you're ready? 'Cause I'm coming at you full force. Hinata was standing in the middle of a small field surrounded by trees. At first, the idea of attacking her own lover Naruto made her nervous. But she relaxed and smiled. They both knew what they were doing. Yes, Naruto. Hinata yelled out. I'm ready. Then show me what you're made of. Naruto appeared in front of her from a tree and put his fingers together. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, he yelled. Right then, hundreds of tons of Naruto clones surrounded Hinata, both on the ground and from the branches in the trees. Naruto was gonna help Hinata train and practice her new jutsu some more. The ones on the ground all shouted and charged after her. Hinata, staying relaxed and confident, activated her Byakugan and held her fingers up. Protective 8 trigrams, 64 palms. She yelled. With that, Hinata exploded her jutsu onto the Naruto clones. Moving and throwing her hands everywhere back and forth with her string of chakra, she easily attacked and defended herself from Naruto's clones. The ones running and the ones jumping out of the trees at Hinata, they all dissipated one by one in a cloud of smoke upon being hit by her. Hinata got rid of them all with ease. Once they were all gone, the real Naruto stood smiling, staring proudly at his love for her amazing success. Hinata smiled back, breathing hard, then suddenly began to fall backwards. What? Hinata! Naruto yelled and quickly ran out to catch her from hitting the ground. It seemed she fainted again. Are you okay, Hinata? Did that jutsu really wipe you out that badly? Quote. But Hinata looked up at Naruto with a grin. Of course not. I did that on purpose, just so that you'd catch me. Huh. Naruto couldn't believe it while Hinata giggled. I mean, it felt so great the first time during the Baikochu mission, I just had to do it again. Hinata was still laughing. Finally Naruto, still holding Hinata, laughed with her too and he pulled her into him so they could share a hug. Later that same day, it was Hinata's turn to help Naruto practice training. Both Naruto and Hinata were standing on top of a giant tree log that laid sideways over a raging river and serving as a bridge. Hinata wanted to help Naruto practice combat by teaching him how to move faster, like all the Higuas do, and dodge fast attacks better. Alright Naruto, Hinata said. I'm gonna come after you with my gentle fist, and want you to try and dodge all my attacks. If you can stay on the log with me for 1 minute without having me knock you into the river, you'll win. And I'll give you a very passionate kiss as a reward. Hinata smiled and blushed, giggling. Naruto giggled and blushed as well. Alright Hinata, I'm gonna hold you to that. Naruto smiled to her. I'm ready. Okay then, here we go. Hinata said. With that, Hinata charged after Naruto. She began threw her hands out to him very fast, aiming at his chest and his sides, but with no intention of actually hurting him. Naruto was able to block and catch and dodge Hinata's attacks, but they still forced him backwards on the log. Hinata went for a leg sweep and Naruto leapt over her on the other side. But upon landing, the log shook and Naruto lost his balance. He began to fall, but hung on by focusing his chakra at his feet hanging upside down underneath Hinata. Naruto jumped back up at her, and Hinata easily jumped out of the way. They laughed and continued the sparring match. However, the vibrations from the match were too much. Without warning, the log suddenly began rolling around, and fell into the river. Whoa! 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 Naruto and Hinata both yelled. Still on top of the giant log as splashed in the river, Naruto and Hinata both frantically moved around, running with the spinning log and trying to keep their balance and not fall in the river. The log was now racing down the raging river with Naruto and Hinata on too. It stopped rolling. Oh no, Naruto. Hinata panicked. We have to jump off before we. No wait. Naruto yelled. Let's stay on. Huh? Hinata asked. Naruto smiled brightly to her. Just trust me. Naruto told her. This will be fun. Let's keep trying to balance on here without falling in. We can continue our match. What? Hinata looked down the river where they were going. Really? We can do this. Naruto said with a face full of confidence. Besides, I still wanna win that kiss from you. Finally Hinata smiled and blushed. Her confidence had been reassured with Naruto. Alrighty then. With that, The sparring match continued on the moving log in the river. Naruto and Hinata slowly walked towards each other to keep their balance. Then Hinata threw her hands again at Naruto, and Naruto, staying focused, blocked all of them. Naruto went for a leg sweep of his own, but Hinata leapt up off the log, and bounced back off one of the rocky river cliffsides back onto the log. This caused it to shake up and down and almost made Naruto lose his balance. But Naruto hung on as the log kept turning around the river. They came back at each other with Hinata's gentle fists and Naruto continuing to block them and throw some gentle fists of his own. Then Hinata suddenly noticed something with her Byakugan. Naruto! She cried out. We need to stop. There's a big waterfall up ahead and we're heading straight for it. Quote. But without warning, Naruto and Hinata, having caught each other's hands, came to a narrow gap in the river with the log sideways. Both sides of the log crashed into the two opposite rocks at the shores, throwing Naruto and Hinata together into the river. Once their heads came out of the water, Naruto and Hinata looked at each other in shock. Oh no! Hinata panicked. Darn it! Naruto said. The river's moving too fast for us to swim out of here. What now? Still holding each other's hands in the water, they both looked at each other, realizing there was no other choice. The waterfall wasn't far at all. But Hinata stayed calm and let go of her fear with Naruto with her, knowing they'll be alright. Naruto smiled to her. Guess we're going over. Hinata smiled back. Yeah, guess so. Hinata and Naruto pulled each other close and held on tight as they looked at the waterfall they were headed to. In only a matter of seconds they were there. Holding hands, Naruto and Hinata together jumped out of the water and much as they could and went over the 100-foot waterfall, yelling on the way down, and crashing into the white water below. Seconds later, both of their heads emerged from the water. Both came up unharmed. Still holding hands, their adrenaline racing fast, they immediately pulled themselves back to one another and wrapped their arms around each other tightly. Naruto began giggling and laughing out loud in excitement. That was amazing, he yelled. That was the most fun I've ever had in a long time. Realizing how fun it was for her too, Hinata smiled and began giggling as well. She'd thought it was incredibly exciting. That was great, Naruto, Hinata said. They finally calmed down, still holding each other and floating on, their eyes locked on another. Well, Naruto whispered. I kept my word, didn't I? You sure did. Hinata blushed. She leaned forward and kissed him. Locking lips, Naruto began kissing her back, not even thinking about letting go. Their arms around each other close and tight, they just kept their mouths together, kissing tenderly and passionately, letting the river current take them away. Sakura was sitting by herself again, drinking hot tea at a cafe in the village. All she could think about was Naruto and Hinata, and her mixed feelings of love, anguish, depression and hatred towards them. As much as she hated to admit it, she was feeling something she thought she'd never feel, jealousy. True jealousy against Hinata, unlike her stupid feud with Ino over Sasuke. This time, Sakura really was in love with Naruto. She flashed back to yesterday afternoon, when her and Naruto talked after coming back from the mission. Flashback. Hey Sakura. Naruto asked her. So did you and Hinata have fun together with the mission? But Sakura was too depressed and too angry to wanna think about Hinata. Yeah, we sure did. Sakura put up a smile. I mean, we finally got to know each other and she told me. She told me all about the two of you now. Quote. Oh, really? Naruto asked, surprised. So I guess, now you know, huh? Sakura sighed. Yeah, I finally understand. I guess I'm happy to know y'all really like each other. But the depression and heartbreak began to sink in. Sakura walked backwards and sat down on a street bench. Naruto glared at Sakura and quickly realized she wasn't alright. What? Naruto thought. Did me and Hinata suddenly somehow make her depressed? He sat down on the bench by her. Sakura? Naruto whispered to her. It's okay. Quote. Sakura looked up at him. Wah. What is? I know how you must feel right now. Naruto told her. You miss Sasuke, don't you? What? Sakura yelled. I can tell. Naruto explained. Me and Hinata finally being together and in love. It reminds you of Sasuke, doesn't it? How much you love him, and miss him that he's gone. Sakura just sat speechless. Now you feel left out and have a hole in your heart, right? But it's gonna be okay. I made a promise I'd bring Sasuke back home for us, and for you. And I can tell you right now, whomever it may be, you'll find someone that'll fill that hole, that void in your life. Sakura was smiling to Naruto. Just like I found Hinata, to fill mine. Naruto finished. This quickly made her smile vanish. Sakura couldn't believe what Naruto was telling her. Her heart pounding oh so fast. Naruto, you don't understand. Sakura began to say tear-eyed. But then she stopped. I mean, and to Naruto's surprise, Sakura did something Naruto thought she could never do. She reached over to hug him. Naruto hugged her back, but felt nothing. Now have I ever been wrong before? Naruto jokingly laughed in hopes to cheer her up. Then finally Naruto and Hinata left together, leaving Sakura alone on the bench. In all her pain, Sakura held her hands to her heart. She finally realized how much Naruto cared for her all this time. All Sakura had wanted to do was tell Naruto how wrong he really was. She wanted to confess to Naruto the truth, that she was finally in love with him. She cried because Naruto still believed she was in love with Sasuke, whom walked out on her and never cared for her. Sakura rubbed her face as she looked at Naruto and Hinata walking away. Mainly she looked at Hinata. It's all because of you. Sakura growled. She started frowning badly and clutching her fists. Her teeth gritted like they were about to shatter in her mouth. It's all your fault. Hinata Haigwa. Sakura yelled to herself. Naruto doesn't not love me. You took him away from me. End flashback. Sakura could see her face in the reflection of the tea in her glass. A mad frown, her eyebrows way down, her eyes still watery, and the steam still rising up for the hot tea. That's when something caught Sakura's eye that made her gasp and look up. Hinata, walking right into the cafe to order a glass of tea herself. Hinata noticed Sakura as well. Oh, hi Sakura. Hinata greeted her. Oh, hi. Sakura mumbled back. Hinata just walked up to the counter to make her order. Sakura with her mad face tried not to look at her. But she kept staring to her through the corner of her eye, watching her. Once Hinata had her tea she began to leave the cafe, as if to drink it somewhere else. Hinata looked and waved back to Sakura to say bye. That's when Sakura reached out and grabbed her jacket to stop her. Hey. Sakura looked at her. We need to talk. Quote. Huh. Hinata gasped. Just seconds later, Sakura and Hinata were sitting together on the table in the cafe tent, drinking their tea. So, I hear you and Naruto have still been hanging out with each other, a lot. Sakura said, looking eerily down at her glass with her elbows on the table and her fists holding her chin up, almost in an emo fashion. Why, yes, Hinata replied. She had smiled, but it quickly went away. Why, is everything okay? Sakura didn't say anything for a while. But eventually she spoke up. I suppose so. She finally mumbled. Sakura, Hinata said. Wah, whatever it is bothering you, you can tell me. Hinata reached over and put her hand on Sakura's arm, to her surprise. I'm your friend Sakura. You can tell me anything. Sakura just looked dead and emotionless. Yeah, she whispered back. Suddenly things got silent for a moment. Then she spoke again. So I also hear you and Naruto have been training together also, Sakura said. Practicing stuff, helping each other out huh? Oh Hinata stuttered. Yes indeed. We've been exercising our techniques and getting much better at them. We've even had some sparring matches with each other. Some really great fun sparring matches. Hinata smiled and blushed, remembering yesterday with Naruto at the river. Sakura still looked pale, looking down at her glass with her chin propped up on her hands. Then she finally looked over at Hinata with an unusual smile. You know what? Sakura said. That's it Hinata. That's what I need is some exercise. Huh. Hinata looked up. If you really wanna help me feel better, you know what you can do. Sakura spoke up. Let's have a sparring match ourselves. Quote. Wah. What? Hinata was surprised. Hey, are you sure? That's really what you. Yes. What do you say? Come on. Sakura urged her and yelled. I mean, yes. It'll really help me feel better and clear my head. An insecure Hinata stuttered. She had no idea. Sure. Okay. Come on. Follow me. Sakura began leading them outside. Moments later, Hinata and Sakura were walking outside in the village. But it just didn't feel right, Hinata thought. This doesn't make sense. She barely knew Sakura and she was suddenly asking her for a sparring match. Sakura still had that unusual emo-like expression, her eyes wrinkled. Without Sakura's knowing, Hinata activated her Byakugan. She noticed Sakura's blood was racing awfully fast, and her nerves were shaking very much inside. And outside, Sakura was hiding it. Come on, Sakura said. All the suddenly, Sakura jumped up at a building, jumping from roof to roof. Hey wait, Hinata called out and quickly began following her, jumping from the roofs to her. Sakura finally stopped, landing on the roof of an old two-story building that had been abandoned. Hinata easily caught up and landed. What is it? Hinata curiously asked. Nothing. Sakura still creepingly looked to her. I just wanted to find a nice quiet spot, away from everyone. I mean we are gonna spare, right? We shouldn't be in anyone's way. Quote. Hinata looked at Sakura in the eye. Sakura, something's wrong. Hinata yelled to her. You're not yourself today, I can tell it. Who says I'm not myself today? Sakura frowned. I just wanna exercise. Like anyone else. Hinata could still see Sakura's nerves frantically shaking. Sakura's face still pale and wrinkled, looking at Hinata with a dark smile. You gave me the idea, Hinata. You and Naruto have seemed to have some fun sparring matches like you mentioned. Sakura mysteriously ranted. The smile became a frown. I thought you and I would be perfect sparring opponents, just like you and Naruto. You're so in love with my friend Hinata. My teammate. Y'all seem to be having a perfect time. What's wrong with a sparring match with me? Hinata gasped out loud. That's when Hinata finally came to a stunning revelation. Wait a minute. Is that what this is all about, Sakura? Hinata asked her. Naruto. Both Hinata and Sakura stood silent. The wind was picking up on the roof. Is that it? Hinata asked. Are you trying to fight me because you're jealous of me and Naruto? Quote. Sakura finally let out a huge sigh. I never thought I'd say it, Hinata. Sakura answered. You know, it was Kakashi who always kept telling us to enjoy the little things in life because, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. Single quote quote. Hinata couldn't believe it. So you are in love with him? She whispered. So you are jealous of me? Unlike you, Hinata, I was blind all this time. Sakura said. But now, I finally see the light. I love Naruto. Sakura now officially declared. I've been in love with him all along, and never realized. I've always loved Naruto, more than you'll ever know, Hinata. She shouted. Finally Sakura clenched her fists and took her fighter stance. Now what do you say? Sakura frowned and yelled to her. Let's do this. But Hinata shuddered, scared and worried for Sakura's well-being. Sakura, please. Hinata begged. This isn't the answer. I don't want to fight you. We don't need to be doing this. Sakura just looked her in the eye. I don't care. Sakura, I'm serious. Hinata tried to calm her down. I know you're hurt. I know you're jealous and sad and angry. But I can help you. I know you just want to take out your frustrations and let the anger out, but this isn't the way. Please. I'm your friend Sakura. But Sakura just laughed to herself. We're not exactly friends, yet Hinata. Sakura said. We've only barely known each other. And you have something very precious that belongs to me. At that moment, it finally sank. There was no way around it. There was no way of calming Sakura down. Unwanting, Hinata took her fighter stance as well. You don't wanna do this, Sakura. Hinata pleaded on last time with her eyebrows lowered. She knew Sakura was no match for her. But I guess there's no other choice. I'll fight you, and help you relieve your frustrations. Sakura was finally tired of waiting and she ran and charged after Hinata. I'd like to see you try, Hinata Hyuga. She yelled. Hinata charged after her too, activating her Byakugan. I'm sorry Sakura, she said to herself. With that, Sakura and Hinata finally caught each other's hands in a crash that shook the entire building. Letting go with her left hand, Sakura went for a punch aiming at Hinata's head, but Hinata easily dodged it. With her right, Sakura swung at her again and Hinata swiftly ducked and slid away. Sakura went for a kick to the stomach and Hinata jumped back, though Sakura still came after her throwing more punches. Hinata just kept moving extremely fast, using her speed to duck and dodge Sakura's punches. She stood up straight and with Sakura still throwing punch after punch at her, Hinata used her hands to block them, moving them back and forth at lightning speed, blocking punch after punch from Sakura. Sakura suddenly then went for a leg sweep, and Hinata leapt over her to dodge it, but as she landed Sakura came right back up throwing another kick for her stomach. Hinata quickly blocked and caught Sakura's leg with both her hands. Holding on, Hinata swung Sakura around like a baseball bat and threw her. But to her surprise, Sakura landed using her hands, then using her super strength, bounced back off the roof thrusting her leg out in the air going for another fierce kick. Hinata blocked it and dodged out the way. Sakura landed back on her feet. Sakura couldn't even touch her. Hinata didn't want to attack Sakura because she was afraid of hurting her. They both breathed fast. Well, Hinata said to her, I'm just getting started. Sakura yelled, charging at her again. Sakura threw more punches and Hinata swiftly moved back dodging them. Sakura jumped up going for another air kick, and Hinata once again caught her foot and swung her away. However, as she was being thrown, Sakura reached and then threw 3 shurikens at Hinata. Hinata frighteningly gasped as they hit her in the stomach, or so it seemed, as Hinata used a substitution to counter, switching places with an old rock from the roof. Hinata reappeared behind Sakura in shock. Are you crazy Sakura? Hinata yelled. Why are you attacking me with those? HMMPH. Sakura just turned back around to her with an angry smile. Sorry. Guess I just got carried away. Sakura came back throwing another punch. Hinata grabbed and blocked Sakura's fist with her hand, but the punch was so powerful from Sakura's super strength, its force sent Hinata skidding and sliding backward on her feet several yards. But Hinata kept her balance. Shaking her hand, Hinata realized Sakura was trying to take things to another level. Sakura yelled and using the super strength from her fist again, she jumped in Hinata's direction and punched the ground, sending giant shockwaves at Hinata. The waves made Hinata lose her footing for a second and she covered her eyes, but the shockwaves shattered and shot up several chunks of the old cement roof that came flying at her. Hinata gasped and quickly began spinning. 8 trigrams palm rotation, Hinata yelled. She spun around quickly, releasing the spinning chakra wall to block and safely knock away all the rocks hurling at her. A few of them came flying back towards Sakura, forcing her to jump and dodge them. I'm still far from finished. Sakura shouted, now getting frustrated for her inability to hit her. Sakura came charging at Hinata once again, with her fingers together. Shadow clones. Sakura yelled. She created 3 clones that, along with herself, came after Hinata. Hinata was still scared to hurt Sakura, but now with 4 of them fighting her, she realized she wasn't gonna have a choice. The 4 Sakuras came attacking all at once, surrounding Hinata. With her Byakugan, Hinata began stepping it up, moving much faster and quicker, trying to stay focused as the Sakuras kept trying to throw fierce punches, leg sweeps, high kicks, and kicks from the air at. All the while, Hinata kept moving quickly jumping, blocking and dodging the attacks. 2 of the Sakura clones even pulled out kunai blades and tried to cut Hinata with them. That's when Hinata realized she'd really lost it and was going too far. Hinata still managed to avoid the blades and push them away. Although Sakura came extremely close several times, Hinata still avoided every blow. I've had enough of this Sakura. Hinata finally yelled at her. 8 trigrams, she shouted. Finally Hinata attacked back. Spinning around fast, Hinata struck all 4 Sakuras in the heart with great force from her fingers, causing them to shout in pain. The 3 clones were finally destroyed, and Hinata charged after the real Sakura. Gentle fist. 8 trigrams 64 palms. Hinata yelled. Hinata immediately came striking at all of Sakura's body, striking out her chakra flow lines and chakra points, making Sakura gasp and yell in pain with every hit. It all happened in such an instant. At long last, having taken the vicious blows, Sakura stood still, holding her body in pain. She coughed as both her and Hinata were breathing fast. "I'm sorry, Sakura, but you made me do it," Hinata said to her. Hinata was twitching her eyes in fear for Sakura's being. An emotional Sakura looked at Hinata in defeat. She stayed standing on her feet, but it began sinking in. All her effort, all her strength, and Hinata was still standing the victor. All because Sakura wanted Naruto. She loves Naruto and wanted him back from Hinata. Still frowning in frustration and jealously, Sakura tried to hold back her tears. "I guess it's over now, huh?" Sakura whispered in defeat. "You've shut off all my chakra points, and now I can't go on." "No," Hinata told her. "Not all of them, only about 3/4 of them. I was doing everything I could not to try and hurt you, so I only attacked some of them. I told you, I don't want to hurt you, Sakura." Stunned by what she did, Sakura's eyes shot open. She then fell to her knees, still coughing and feeling the pain of Hinata's gentle fists. Hinata, having been worn out by the fight, kneeled down to her to try and ease her pain. But before anything else could happen, Hinata and Sakura heard someone jump on top the roof. They turned their heads in shock, to see Naruto had suddenly shown up with a worried expression. "Hinata, Sakura," he said. Both the girls gasped. "Naruto." Sakura looked at him. "What happened? Are you two girls all right?" Naruto frantically asked. Still shocked to see him suddenly arrive, Hinata finally spoke. "We're fine, Naruto. Hinata said. "I was looking all over for you too." Naruto said, calming down. "That lady at the cafe told me she'd seen you both there not long ago, then I heard some loud crashes and fighting." "No, really," Sakura finally spoke. "It's okay, Naruto. Hinata and I were just having a friendly sparring match and practicing our jutsus together. Everything's fine." Naruto looked at them both. They were still kneeled down by each other. "I hope so," Naruto said. "Okay, I'll leave y'all alone then. You just both had me worried, but I'll head back and let you girls be." Quote. "Thanks, Naruto." Both Hinata and Sakura respectively. Then Naruto leapt off and left the two on the roof. Sakura and Hinata looked back at each other. The breeze was still blowing. Sakura knelt her head down in tears, crying for her loss. Hinata immediately put her hands on her shoulders to comfort her. "Sakura, listen to me." Hinata cried out to her. I'm sorry we had to do this, but you shouldn't beat yourself down for it." She lifted her head back up. "I know Naruto and I are together and he's in love with me, but he still loves you too, Sakura. He always will. You shouldn't be jealous," Hinata said to her. What? Sakura whispered back. "You're a great girl, Sakura," Hinata said. "And a great ninja too. You put up one heck of a fight for me. You should be proud, Sakura. You don't give yourself enough credit. Naruto still cares for you. And I'm still your friend. You're gonna be okay, Sakura." Although her sad frown could still be seen, Sakura cried after hearing Hinata's words of wisdom. "Thank you, Hinata," Sakura finally whispered. "I needed that." Feeling like crying herself for Sakura, Hinata reached out and wrapped her arms around her. Letting Sakura cry on her shoulder, Hinata hugged Sakura to ease her pain and show her she still cared for her. But despite her loving hug, Sakura couldn't pull herself to hug back. Hinata eventually let go and got ready to leave. Before she did, she turned her back around to Sakura. "I'll be here for you," Hinata said. Finally she left the rooftop, leaving Sakura to herself. Back out in the city, Naruto was walking by himself back home. He turned his back in curiosity. I wonder," Naruto whispered, remembering seeing Hinata with Sakura. "Nah, of course not." Sakura still looked down at the broken rooftop, feeling just as broken as it was. What Hinata had thought were tears of relief and happiness from Sakura, were still tears of pain and anguish. Sakura gritted her teeth and dug her fingers into the broken cement, clutching and breaking the rocks in her fists. Hinata. You. It was very hot and humid outside the very next day. Naruto was out in the woods again, alone, practicing and training by himself. He began running as fast as he could up the side of a tree. Practicing his tree climbing again, Naruto raced himself upward a giant 200-foot tree in the forest, maintaining chakra control at his feet. Ha 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 ha. Naruto laughed with excitement and a bright smile. I bet I can make it to the top in just 60 seconds. He challenged himself. Racing with adrenaline and excitement, Naruto kept climbing as fast as he could, motivated by his love and desires, and remembering his love for Hinata. Finally Naruto reached the top. With a great view of the entire forest, he began jumping around in excitement and victory, throwing his fists. Yeah, I did it, he shouted. From the branch he was standing on, Naruto walked out to the end and fell back, still focusing chakra to his feet to hang upside down from the branch edge. He had a big smile with his eyes closed. Ha, I'd like to see someone try and beat that. I bet there's not another ninja who could. But all of a sudden, Naruto heard a loud crash of thunder. Shocked, Naruto's eyes shot open, as he noticed a big thunderstorm cloud out in the distance, despite the blue sky and bright sun above him. What the? Exclamation mark quote. Naruto gasped. But the surprise made Naruto lose his concentration. He lost his footing and felt himself falling. Whoa. Oh no. Naruto's feet came off the branch and he frantically tried to grab it back with his hands. But it was too late. Ah! Naruto screamed, falling in midair towards imminent doom back to Earth. Back in the Leaf Village, others in the street could see small dark clouds blowing over them. They could also see a small bit of the giant thunderstorm cloud, heading in their direction. Ah! Kakashi said. Beautiful. Haven't seen a good storm here in quite a while. About time. He was standing back against a wooden fence looking at the sky with a smile underneath his mask. Unlike some people who were afraid of thunderstorms, Kakashi loved them. He loved getting to watch them and feel the wind and the rain. He began walking away. Back out deep in the forest, Sakura was seen walking around and climbing trees. She had a blissful smile and was walking and humming to herself. Thinking of romantic songs she knew, she danced around with her eyes closed, spinning around holding her face up to the heavens. Feeling the breeze pick up, she danced more. She gracefully leapt up to another tree branch. She pulled out another kunai blade, and knelt down to the treeside. Still humming and smiling, she carved a heart shape into the tree, and slowly carved Naruto's name in it. Sakura was feeling great. Still holding the kunai, Sakura put her fingers to her teeth and began pulling out some ninja string. That's when she heard what sounded like a strange crashing noise, not far from her out in the forest. Sakura turned her head and gasped, looking through the trees to see if she could see something. Sakura seemed worried. At the Hyuga family home, Neji and Hinata had just finished a training session and eating lunch. They were standing outside in the backyard surrounded by the rest of the home's walls. Both of them were looking up into the sky, watching the bright blue sky and the small back clouds blowing, feeling the fast winds in their hair. Hinata didn't want to tell anyone about the confrontation with Sakura yesterday. Not even Naruto. She just hoped they could let it pass. After all, she did seem to make Sakura feel better after letting her let her anger out. She had even seen Sakura earlier today. Sakura had greeted her friendly and she was smiling like new. Everything seemed to be a thing of the past. The actual storm isn't far now. Neji said looking up into the sky. I think the village is in for a good hard pounding. Quote, I know, Hinata said with a smile. It's still gonna be beautiful and fun to watch. Neji looked over to her. That Hinata, he thought. She sure has a habit of looking on the bright side of things and trying to stay positive. I sure hope it's a good habit. Meanwhile, Sakura was still out in the forest, now running as fast as she could in order to get back to the village. She tried to outrun the storm coming in. I've got to hurry, she said to herself with a determined and worried face. Later that same afternoon, Kakashi was visiting with Lady Tsunade in the Hokage's office. Kakashi was staring outside at the now completely overcast sky, full of dark gray and black clouds. The wind was still blowing fast, but the rain was still a long ways away. "So how has your squad been holding out, Kakashi?" Tsunade asked. "I know it's been pretty hard on Naruto and Sakura having Sasuke run out on them." Kakashi sighed, looking out the window thinking about them. Yeah, ironically, Naruto and Sakura seem to be holding out just fine though. Kakashi answered. He paused for a moment. A little too fine. Meanwhile, out in the village, Hinata had gathered once again with her team Shino and Kiba. They had met up so they could sit outside and watch the storm together. It was only around 2 p.m., but the sky was still overcast with dark clouds and fast breezy winds. Little bits of thunder could be heard. "Man, this is exciting," Kiba yelled. "Why can't we get rain like this more often?" "We don't need it," Shino told him. "You're talking about more than just rain, you know. The fast winds, the dangerous lightning, once in a while even hail. Why would you want that all the time?" Quote, "You just have to criticize my every opinion, huh, Shino?" Kiba yelled in aggravation. Hinata just giggled listening to them. "All I said was it should, raw and more. Not the other stuff," Kiba told him. Kiba's dog Akamaru was on his back and barked to him. "I'm just saying," Shino said. "I enjoy storms as much as the next person, but I don't get that excited about them." Quote, "Why not then?" Kiba yelled. "Yeah," Hinata got in. "I even enjoy them, just because of the rain and they're fun to watch." "I'm glad at least someone agrees with me," Kiba jokingly said. "HMMPH, if you say so," Shino replied. "Oh come on you guys," Hinata smiled to them. But their little ordeal was suddenly interrupted. On Kiba's back, Akamaru barked a couple times. Kiba turned around to him to see why he was barking, but then he noticed someone frantically running towards them. "Hinata!" she cried out. Teammate all three turned around at once in surprise to see Sakura, running and gasping for breath trying to get her attention. Hinata gasped. "Sakura, is everything okay?" "No, it's not," Sakura replied, panting with a scared face. "I need your help right now, Hinata. It's an emergency." Quote, Hinata said. "Something's happened to Naruto. We were out in the forest, and I think he had a training accident. He's been seriously injured. We need to help him." Sakura cried. What? Hinata gasped scared. "Nah, Naruto. We'll help you, Sakura," Shino spoke. "Let's go." "No, no." Sakura stopped him. "I only need Hinata." "What?" Kiba asked shocked. "Why?" But Sakura just glanced back at Hinata. "Listen, Hinata. You know a lot right now about medicine and medical healing, right?" Quote, yes, a little bit," Hinata answered. "I couldn't bring Naruto back here myself, and Lady Tsunade hasn't taught me nearly enough just yet." Sakura panted. "I need your expertise to Hinata. Naruto needs us both." "Oh no." Hinata panicked. "You really sure y'all be okay by yourself out there?" Kiba said. "It is about to storm, you know." "Yes," Hinata said to him. "We'll be fine. The rain might actually help even." "We don't have much time," Sakura said. "We need to go." "All right then," Hinata replied. She was extremely frightened, knowing that Naruto, her lover, was actually in grave danger and needed her help badly. "Let's go." With that, Sakura and Hinata took off together out of the city and into the deep forest, leaving Shino and Kiba by themselves. They looked on as Hinata left. The wind blew even harder around them. "That was strange," Shino replied. "Yeah, you aren't kidding," Kiba told him. Up in Tsunade's office, Kakashi began flashing back to the last couple of days. He recalled the day Naruto was in a hurry running and almost ran into him. He recalled a couple days ago when he sent Naruto on the mission with Sakura, Hinata and Rock Lee. He remembered how shocked he was when he found Naruto in the forest, just randomly excited and bursting with energy. Kakashi was happy for him, but still suspected something. Flashback. Kakashi greeted Naruto when he got back from the mission. "So Naruto," Kakashi asked. "I assume the mission was success, right?" "What?" Of course it was. You bet. Naruto answered with a bright smile and still excited. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Kakashi said. Naruto looked at Kakashi for a second and paused. Is there something else you needed, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto curiously asked. Kakashi paused for a second then answered. Not at all, Naruto. You're free to go. Quote. Naruto was back on his way to hang out and train with Hinata. That's when Kakashi turned around, revealing his Sharingan eye. The whole time he was talking to Naruto, he'd cast a genjutsu on him, making Naruto believe Kakashi was still covering his Sharingan up like he always does. Kakashi used it to look into Naruto's mind. That's when he discovered the truth behind Naruto's energy, that Naruto and Hinata were together and had confessed they were in love with each other. End flashback. Kakashi sighed, looking out into the storm over the village. You know, there's really nothing to worry about, Kakashi. Tsunade spoke to him. Yeah, I guess you're right. Kakashi said. It's just amazing. I never really paid that much attention to how Naruto and Hinata felt for each other all this time. And to think, now that they're finally together and in love, it seems everything is going so perfectly for them. Tsunade curiously glared at Kakashi for a while. What do you mean, Kakashi? Kakashi just stood still, curiously looking out the window. I'm not sure right now, Tsunade. Leaping through and into the forest, Sakura and Hinata were racing as fast as they could. Hinata followed Sakura the whole way. Do you know exactly where he is out here? Hinata panicked and looked at Sakura. Yes, Sakura replied. He's not too far from here now. Quote. Hinata just looked down with a worried face and they kept moving. What exactly happened to him, Sakura? I'm worried. Well, Sakura spoke up. We were training. Naruto was practicing his tree climbing, and then he went up too high and fell. What? Hinata was surprised. I'm saying he lost his balance and concentration. Sakura kept saying. He was up way too high and apparently couldn't grab back on while he was falling. Hinata still looked down. That doesn't make sense, she said. I mean, I've watched Naruto climb trees a couple times days ago. I thought Naruto was very good at tree climbing. He is, Hinata, Sakura said. But Naruto always gets distracted too easily sometimes. So apparently something caught his attention and caused him to fall. He was hurt so badly, I couldn't carry him back to the village all by myself. Quote. Hinata shrieked, now scared even more for her Naruto. Sakura glanced over to her. Don't worry, Hinata, Sakura said. I'm just as scared and worried as you. But we'll be alright. Naruto's waiting for us both. Just then, it finally started raining in the forest while they were still jumping. Sakura and Hinata began getting wet. Although the trees shielded them from most of the rain, they still got drenched, and the branches became slippery, forcing them to slow down and go cautiously. But despite it, Hinata kept going, knowing what had to be done. About 5 minutes later, Hinata and Sakura were still leaping through the trees. Naruto was still a ways away. The thunder began picking up and it still rained lightly on them. Both Sakura and Hinata were running out of breath and they were jumping so fast. Finally Sakura stopped on a tree branch, then Hinata stopped right beside her. They both breathed heavily. I'm sorry, Hinata, Sakura spoke, that I didn't tell you it was gonna take us a while to get to him. Hinata was about to let out a tear. I can't believe Naruto has been out in the forest, all this time alone and hurt, with no one around to help him or heal him. His must be in so much pain right now. Quote. I know, Sakura said with a scared face as well. But we'll make it. And so will Naruto. She reached behind her side, breathing heavily and pulled out a bottle of clear water. Here, let's catch our breath back for a second. Sakura handed Hinata the bottle. Thank you. Hinata gasped out of breath. She opened and drank a big gulp of the water then handed it back to Sakura. Sakura took it to get a drink herself. Rather than drink the water, Sakura poured the water behind the side of her face where Hinata couldn't see it, and it blended in with the rain. Come on, Sakura said. Finally her and Hinata were back at it, leaping through the trees towards Naruto. In the Leaf Village, Shino and Kiba were walking by themselves in the street. The rain hadn't reached the village yet, but it was still very windy and dark, and the rain could easily be smelled close by. I wonder, Shino spoke, should we have gone with them, Kiba? Quote, nah, of course not. Kiba replied. Hinata's a smart and brave girl. She can handle helping Naruto. Yeah, I guess you're right. Shino said. Ever since her and Naruto finally confessed their feeling for each other, Hinata's confidence and strength seems to have increased tenfold. And she'll do anything for him now. She really will. Kiba said with a smile. I just hope Naruto will be okay. That knucklehead is always getting himself hurt and in trouble. Hinata doesn't. But before Kiba could finish, he got distracted. Akamaru suddenly began growling on his back. Kiba looked at him and Akamaru suddenly lifted his head and began barking out loud. Kiba was worried because he was barking so loud and not stopping. What? What is it now, boy? Kiba asked. Akamaru was looking out far in the distance and sniffing. Shino saw it too and suddenly stood still. Finally Kiba turned to where they were both looking. It caught his eye too. No, it can't be. Shino whispered in shock. What? Kiba whispered, jaw dropped. Are you kidding me? Out in the distant crowd, Naruto was walking by himself in the street. He was looking up in the sky with a smile and his hands in his pocket, walking just like normal, not a scratch or a bruise on him. Hita was excited about the storm that was blowing and on its way in. Feeling the fast wind in his face, listening to the soft thunder, made him feel even more hyped. He turned and walked straight into the Ichiraku ramen bar and took a seat, spinning on the barstool. Naruto, the chef said with a smile. About time you came back. I didn't expect to see you here in this weather. I know, me neither. Naruto said, smiling back. I've been so busy training, I hadn't had anything to eat all day today. Quote, well, whatever you're gonna get, you better get it fast, the chef told him. Once the storm finally gets here, we're closing the place down and shuttering the building up. Quote, hey, I don't mind. Naruto said. Then let me just get the usual so we don't have to waste time. What better time to eat ramen than now, huh? Hey, if you say so, the chef said. Just seconds later, he put Naruto a nice bowl of ramen out in front of him. Enjoy. I'm going back inside for a moment. Naruto brought his silly smile on once he saw the ramen noodles. Happy and hungry, he finally dug his fork into the bowl. Lifting the fork with the noodles, he was ready to eat the first bite as Shino and Kiba suddenly appeared behind him. Naruto! Kiba yelled at him. Wah! Naruto screamed and jumped in shock. He fell off the stool from the surprise, dropping the fork full of noodles on him by accident. What? Kiba! Naruto frantically turned around. Did you have to yell my name like that? Look what just happened. Naruto yelled in his face. I didn't mean to freak you out. Kiba yelled. But just what the heck are you doing here? What? Naruto yelled. What am I doing here? Why? I can't eat ramen noodles in peace for you. Exclamation mark quote. We thought you were badly hurt, Naruto. Shino finally spoke up. Did something happen, or are you feeling okay already? Naruto suddenly froze and looked at Shino in confusion. Huh, me getting hurt? What the heck are you guys talking about? Naruto asked them. In the forest it was still raining. Sakura and Hinata were leaping through more trees, but then they finally slowed down. Sakura led Hinata to the ground and they started walking. He's this way, Sakura told her. Sakura led Hinata out into the middle of an area between two giant trees. There was a big hole in the ground in front of them. He's down in there, Hinata. Sakura said, looking at the hole. What? Hinata gasped in shock. You serious? Quote. Just then, Hinata could hear a moaning noise coming from the hole. Hinata and Sakura ran together to the edge of the hole. Hinata looked down and gasped with fear. There down at the bottom of the hole, Hinata saw Naruto lying down, not moving, clutching his arm and leg in pain. Nah, Naruto, Hinata cried to him. I'm here. Quote. Hinata immediately jumped down into the hole for him. Hurry, Hinata, Sakura said. Still standing up at the ground looking down on Hinata. Hinata knelt down so she could help Naruto. While in the hole, Hinata put her hand on Naruto's face to comfort him. His painful moaning quietly and slowing started turning into giggling. Up above with her fake face and her eyes shaking, Sakura reached behind her back. Huh, Naruto, Hinata whispered. Suddenly, Naruto turned and looked at Hinata with a disturbing smile. He was still giggling, but his giggle started growing louder. Naruto, Hinata shouted to him wondering what's wrong. Then before her eyes, Naruto exploded, disappearing in a cloud of white smoke, a shadow clone created by Sakura. Hinata shrieked out loud. She shook in complete shock and fear. What? Hinata heard a sudden wisp. Up above, Sakura pulled out and threw a shuriken up in the air. Then a loud tick noise was heard. Hinata started hearing a loud rumbling noise from up above, and it wasn't the thunder. A frightening lightning flash lit the forest. Hinata looked up and screamed as she saw several giant huge rocks and boulders falling from out of the tree, heading into the hole to crush her to death. Hinata screamed out loud.